Resident Evil Village had a showcase this past week where they showed off some new trailers for the game, some new gameplay. I put that in quotes because it was like very abbreviated and like truncated, and clearly don't want to show a lot of the game, which I appreciate that. It's enough to get a flavor of what's going on with the story and stuff, but not a ton. So some highlights from that, Brett. They announced the release date is May 7th, which is awesome. Not too far away. They announced that it's also coming out for Xbox One and PS4 consoles, in addition to next-gen hardware and PC, which they had already announced previously. They also shadow dropped a visual demo for PS5, what they called a visual demo, which at first we were like, why are they calling it a visual demo? Well, it's because that's exactly what it was. It's just to showcase the game running on next-gen hardware. I know, you didn't play the demo yet, did you? Come on, man.
I have not, no.
Come on, man.
I'm
It's
gonna
like
get to
15
it.
minutes,
I'm gonna get to it.
and it is just that. It's a visual showcase. There is like, I'm apprehensive to even call it puzzle solving because there's really not. There's a couple of items you have to find to progress. Go ahead.
Is it more than the kitchen demo that Resident Evil
Yeah,
7
yeah,
had, or
yeah,
no?
yeah, yeah. It's a little bit more, if you can call it, in
Okay.
depth than that. You start in one area. You have to get out of that area to go in the other area, and I'm sure you've seen it at this point. It's like you're in a dungeon, and then you have to go out into the house. Um, so you have to find a way out of the dungeon. You get to this like in between little area, and then you have to find your way into the house and then out of the house. And it's really simple. It's just picking up a couple of items and doing some, again, minor puzzle solving to get out. But it looks fucking beautiful. Like, I mean, you look at PT and the photorealism of that. It's like that on steroids. It is when I got out into the main
Wow.
section, main house part of the game. First of all, it's running at 4K natively at 60 FPS, so it looks fucking good. And then there's some ray
Yeah.
tracing going on there with reflections. Now they are, if you get really close, you can see that it's maybe like, I don't know, an eighth or like a quarter of what the resolution is. But the fact that it's there, and if you're not like pressing your face up against something, you know what I mean, which most of the time you wouldn't be doing in gameplay anyway, it's really impressive, man. And what the work that they've done with the Resident Evil engine, and then clearly updating it again now for next gen, um, it's a good engine. It's cool. Yeah.
Cool. I'm excited to try it.
In addition to that demo, they also announced that there's a full demo coming later in the spring for all platforms, which I'm assuming will be a little bit more
Yep.
in depth of a demo, probably something similar to what we saw for the original Resident Evil 7 demo, which was a
That
nice
was a great
about,
demo.
what, like 20-30 minute vertical slice of the game. But is awesome. It almost served like as a little precursor to the game itself, um, which I hope
It actually
the
did, yeah.
Village demo does. They also announced RE Verse, which is the multiplayer stuff. Now, if you remember, I think you actually sent it to me, but the Steam page for the game was updated like last week or something like that to include multiplayer in like the description of it. So I guess
Yes.
that's what
Yeah.
this means for that. So yeah, listen,
Unfortunately. But the reverse thing is just like a third person arcadey
yeah,
shooting
they
game,
didn't.
right?
Excuse me, they didn't talk about it too much. But I mean, listen, it's free. It comes with the game if you purchase Resident Evil Village. So I don't really care either way or another. I'll probably play it for about 30 minutes, just like we did
Yeah.
with the thing that came with Resident Evil 3, and that'll be it.
Yeah. Interesting though, I did see that someone was looking at screenshots that they showed off, and it looks as if they had to scale all of the characters down to fit all of them inside of the map,
Yeah,
which is interesting.
yeah. So they, instead of changing, I guess, the size of the actual map itself or rescaling everything, they just shrunk the character models to fit inside of the map.
Yeah, because you have such huge characters like Nemesis and shit that you're going to be able to play as
Right.
probably. So they just scaled the characters down. So it's really funny because you'll see them running and like there's like a water cooler
Yeah.
next to them and it's like huge and it's like, oh, okay, like you won't notice that kind of shit though
No.
when you're playing probably.
So it's cool. It's free. Comes with it. We'll try it out. But um, this is what I really wanted to get to, though, Brett. There was no mention of VR, So, as a little preface, and I don't know the exact timeline, but Resident Evil 7 did announce before launch that the game was going to be fully playable in VR, which was a huge announcement. And then there was an exclusivity deal with PSVR for the first 12 months of the game's release that you could only play in VR on PSVR. Now, they didn't mention VR. I thought that this might be the place that they would say something about it since it was like their big showcase. And what I'm assuming is really kind of the last big showcase besides their demo before launch at this point, if it's coming out in May. So I wanted to get your thoughts, Brett, about if you think it's cause for concern for people that want to play it in VR like we do, um, or if it's really nothing to call home about.
Yeah, so Josh, the VR announcement was the one thing I was looking forward to the most from this whole showcase. I really thought that this would be the one where they said,
Yeah.
it's coming to VR. But there are some problems with that. Right now, there is no PlayStation 5 game that actually runs on PSVR or PSVR
Right.
running on the PS5. Every time you do
Right.
that, it's a PS4 game. Most recent example is Hitman 3. That just launched, and if you get the PS5 version, there is no PSVR support. Whereas if you get the PS4 version, you could play the whole game and all of the Hitman 1 and 2 levels
Mm-hmm.
in VR. Um, so this was something that was worrying me about Village because at the time, before this announcement, if you remember, there was no PS4 or Xbox One versions announced. It was strictly next gen. And you mentioned at the top of the video here, or the top of the topic, that it is now coming to PS4 and Xbox
Right.
One. Which leads me to believe that we are going to get VR support for Resident Evil Village. However, it will only be on the PlayStation 4 version of the
Mm-hmm.
game, which means the visuals aren't going to be as good when you're playing out of VR. It's not going to run as well. It's a real letdown,
Mm-hmm.
to be honest with you. And I think that is why they didn't say anything about VR at this announcement. I think that we might see a VR 2 that might come out. But there's so many like things that are up in the air about this, Josh. The PlayStation 5 camera doesn't work with VR at all. So they're already setting themselves up for no VR on the PS5, really. Um, you have to use all the original PS4 equipment to play VR. There's one silver lining here. There is a PlayStation London
Mm-hmm.
Studios, I think they're called. They're the guys that
Yeah.
made the London
Mm-hmm.
Heist for VR. They recently put up a job posting and it said something about new technology in VR for PS5. And this was something I saw on Reddit. So if I can find it, I'll give it to you. We can throw it in the description or something. But that is the only indication of a PS5 PSVR that we've
Mm-hmm.
gotten so far. So basically, I don't think this is looking very good for PS5 owners if you want to play Resident Evil Village in VR. But it's possible that VR2 might be out by then. Maybe they announce PSVR2 in the coming months, and when they announce that, they announce Village as like the big title that's gonna
Yeah.
launch with it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
That's
I
it.
could see that.
That's all I got.
I feel like to me, maybe I mean maybe not on a grand scale, but I feel like the fact that Resident Evil 7 was in VR was like a huge thing, and was really popular. And I know PSVR is pretty popular. I know it's probably not a huge attach rate, but it's something that PlayStation I think is obviously actively invested in. So I think that it's just a matter of when, not if, there's a PSVR 2 for PS5 or whatever it is. But
Yeah.
it begs the question, and what I'm concerned about, I guess, is that I don't know if Resident Evil Village will launch and be playable in VR, or if it is, it might just be the PS4 version, like you were saying. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's gonna be the case.
which they're
Unfortunately.
kind of setting themselves up for failure there because there's going to be a lot of people like me and probably you that like I'm going to play parts of it in VR for sure, but I'm also going to want to play it and see the next gen graphics and do it that way too at points. Um,
Especially if they're taunting the
yeah,
graphics with these
yeah,
demos,
and I
right?
might, I mean, I
You know.
might play through the game multiple times, that I might switch back and forth. I might play a level or two in VR and be like, okay, I'm going to switch over because I'm going to sit on my couch now and use my controller instead. And if
Yeah.
there's two separate versions that you have to accomplish that, not going to be great.
Now, if the PS5 version of the game included the PS4 version of the game and you could switch on
Yeah.
the fly,
That would be. That's
and your
fine.
save data worked,
No,
but
that's
it's
not.
probably not.
Come on now. Sony needs to make everything as convoluted and complicated as they possibly can.
Yeah. Well, you and I both know how it works on the PS5 when you can select the version, whether it's the PS4 or
Right.
the PS5 version, you can install
Right.
either of them, right? So I don't know. There's going to be some fuckery they're going to have to do to make
There's
this
some logistical
happen.
stuff that I think PlayStation needs to get out in front of, because from a consumer aspect, it has me like in a proverbial rocking chair of do I or don't I, and I don't like feeling that, you know.
Yeah, and like it's gonna hinder pre-orders. People are gonna not want to pre-order this for a certain system because they're gonna wonder if they could play VR or not. So,
But two more quick things with Village, and then we'll move on. One, they announced a traveling merchant that's going to be in the game, which to my knowledge is very different than other Resident Evil games. Yes. Okay.
Resi 4
Well,
had
then that was going to be my question to you: is actually does Resident Evil 4 have it? Because to my knowledge, that would be the only one where I think that would kind of make sense.
Yeah, in Resi 4, it was a guy wearing like a full hood with like a face mask, and he would be like, "What are you buying, stranger?" And like you would like find him in the middle of a cave or like in a building, and like he would just randomly be
Well,
there.
that's cool. So that's going to bring another kind of dynamic into the game. And then continuing with the Resident Evil 4 trend of Resident Evil Village, they showed off and basically announced that Resident Evil 4 is going to have Resident Evil Village is going to have the same inventory system as Resident Evil 4 does, which is like that Tetris-y type thing, basically. Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe. Josh and Bret really need you too. I love them. So do it. It would be a shame if you missed more of their videos. Hit the notification bell too, so you know when there is a new upload.